What I think is important in today's encounter with this exhibition and its underlying concepts is, to me, quite remarkable. And that is that due to the fact that my generation has been around when the Russian and Soviet avant-garde, like other avant-gardes, has been suppressed and historically suppressed and forgotten. There was a period of complete loss of the avant-garde, which after the ravages of Stalinism in Russia, the horrors of Nazism in Germany, or just even the superficialities of neoclassicism in France, the importance and the values of this avant-garde was forgotten. And I, in my life, have felt it important to support the rediscovery of that avant-garde. And I was very lucky to be at certain occasions when that was taking place. For instance, I was a student in Hanover when I was able to help to set up the Elisitsky exhibition that came from Eindhoven, which Mr. Lehring brought to Hanover. And I was working on that exhibition with Wieland Schmid and others. And I met Mr. Lehring, and that exhibition was very important to me because it was not only a reacquaintance with the oeuvre of Elisitsky, but for me it was also an evaluation of certain drawings which my parents possessed of Elisitsky. I suddenly realized there is a larger context. Now, the Brown Room was in Hanover. We took the Brown Room to the Art and Revolution exhibition in London, which was a very big, important exhibition, but as it was made in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture of the Soviet Union, the Brown Room shocked the Minister of Culture, Madame Furtseva, to such a degree that it had to be closed. And for diplomatic reasons, and also to protect Camilla Gray, who at that time was already living in the Soviet Union. She was the curator of this exhibition. The Brown Room was closed. As well as the reconstructions of Tatlin's counterreliefs, which Martin Schark had made for this exhibition, had to be withdrawn, and paintings of Malevich. It was all done because we wanted this exhibition, even under these circumstances, to be seen and experienced, because it was a first encounter for many people with this lost avant-garde. But the trick was also that, as it was done in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture, it was the first time that there was an admission that this forbidden, that condemned avant-garde existed and had a value. Now, to be there was remarkable. And over the years, we have seen the revival of this avant-garde, or the revival of our understanding of it. Names like Grodzic and Tatlin, Lutz, Lisitsky, which are here now, household names, yes? We feel at home with these people. We love them. We think of them. We adore their work. And we admire the reconstructions made over the years, including these, as putting us in touch with the work of these artists. It changes something. We started with a tragic view of the avant-garde, a tragic view, partly through the historical circumstances that destroyed the memory and the many verbs of this avant-garde, the tragic view of forgetting and of loss, and then also the tragic view. Is it a tragic view still? No. We are learning, we have learned that the avant-garde has been recovered. But also, on the example of Tatlin, the failure to build the tower, or the failure to make that thing fly, was not a failure. It was a magnificent philosophical conceit. Okay, in conversation with the space and aviation specialist Jutkowski, with whom Tatlin had conversations and discussions, the great scientist suggested that it may be possible that where science and the constructor, the engineer, fails, the artistic intuition may make the thing fly, make it work. But of course, what he knew was it makes it work in our minds, because Icarus is a metaphor. Our longing to lift off the earth and fly and be close to the clouds and birds. These are metaphors for deeper ambitions. And in this way, I feel we are now reaching a point where this avant-garde and its failure are recognized as not failures, but a moment in art which gives us enormous hope that whatever endeavors we aim for, even if we crash in our own biography, there is a chance that it transcends the misery of our times and turns failure into triumph. Tatlin, as many of his generation, suffered greatly. He did not have the ability to direct his artistic intentions towards photomontage or public art as such. But as long as he was able to make the tower, make the proposal of that ornithopter, that wonderful flying machine, he had the following. He exhibited the models in 1932, in 1934. He had exhibitions in Moscow where his flying machine was shown. It was a massive success. People came to see it. Young people got excited, despite the fact that on the 1st of May you saw massive armadas of the Tupolev flying across Red Square. They loved him, and they loved his tower, and there were discussions. In fact, I would say, like others in his generation, he worked with metaphors and with poetry, a system of mysterious combinations of or associations of poetic thoughts and poetic activities and poetic handling of materials. He discovered, accessible to society at large, a kind of spirituality which we never would have expected to grow out of the Marxist materialist system. But here he meets Tatlin and others, meet also the thoughts of Alexei Gan, who, as a high-wired Marxist, pointed out to the fact that material is also a spiritual matter. It is the question of how we harmonize materials and function. So, in this respect, there are still enormous lessons to be learned, and the concepts, these wonderful ideas, and the poetry of the artists we are thinking and talking about today is still active. It is very interesting to speak to Henry Milner. You will have a chance to do so. Because he, in reconstructing or rebuilding, had a very interesting experience, an experience which people who are engaged in the art of reenactment often encounter, and that is an incredibly close encounter with the author. When you, John, mentioned that concept of translation, it is indeed a way of identification and assimilation. When you look at the Tatlin model here, these carefully bent woods, Tatlin did that in the high tower of the monastery, and he had taught himself to bend wood, like tone it in Vienna, a technique that was pretty new at the time, to bend wood under steam. All of these things made him close to the material. It's a tactile experience. It is an experience of smells, touch, and the miracle of nature as it enters the world of engineering. He went to Novodevichi, to the tower. It was no coincidence that this place was empty and a desecrated piece of monastery. He wanted to be there because it was a tower, and in the mythology of flight, many people. There was a tailor in Ulm in Germany who did this, and there was a Russian pre-aviator with their own wings. They jumped, had a moment of lift, and crashed and died. That is one set of wondrous reverberations. But there is also something else, and Tatlin knew it. It was also a spiritual place. And there is a relationship between flight and spirit, the flight liberating the spirit. So, the stagnation of human life on ground, the stagnation particularly in the modern smelly cities, would be changed by a spiritual field, sphere where people fly through the open air and away from all the burdens. It is the world of the spirit, it is the world of poetry, it is the world of the wordless, wonderful experience. In this respect, Tatlin, Lutz, Rodczyka, Elisicki were people we could, within the terminology of our time, call artists involved in public art. It is not art or communal art where people trample over it, but a public art that engages the public imagination. And it's a very, very subtle process, the interaction between artists and society. And there is something in that early socialist, communist principle that art can be made for the people, and that is done without the sledgehammer of propaganda or didacticism. It is done with the language of poetry and the love of humanity. That's it.